My father no longer remembers my name. Most days, when I enter his room at Riverside Memory Care, he looks at me as if I were a stranger who had wandered in by mistake. Sometimes he mistakes me for his brother who died in Vietnam. Sometimes he asks me if I've come to fix the air conditioner. On his worst days, he gets angry and asks the nurses to send that man away. That man is me. I am his son. I am 50 years old. My father has forgotten I exist. He has advanced Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a thief. It doesn't just steal memories. It steals the person you love, piece by piece, until you are left with someone who looks like your father, but is no longer him. He is now 78 years old. 3 years ago, he could tell stories about his childhood in Pittsburgh. 2 years ago, he remembered my wedding to Sarah. Last year, he completely forgot her name. Now, he barely knows it's Tuesday. Still, I visit him every day. I tell myself it's because he's my father, because it's the right thing to do, because he raised me alone after my mother died. But to be honest, I visit him because I'm afraid that if I don't visit him one day, he'll die and I'll spend the rest of my life with that guilt. Yesterday was different. Yesterday, my father looked at me and said my name. It was 2:30 in the afternoon. I'd just come from a client meeting. I run a small accounting firm downtown. And I was still wearing my suit jacket. The facility always keeps the temperature too warm, and I was already pulling at my collar when I walked into his room. He was sitting in his chair by the window, staring out at nothing. That's how he spends most days now, just staring. The nurses say he's somewhere else, and I suppose that's the kindest way to put it. "Hey, Dad," I said, sitting down in the chair across from him. "How are you feeling today?" He didn't respond. That wasn't unusual. I pulled out my phone and started going through emails. I've learned to just sit with him, to not expect conversation. My presence is enough, the nurses tell me. Even if he doesn't know who I am, having someone nearby keeps him calm. I was halfway through responding to a client when he spoke. "Daniel?" My head snapped up. He was looking directly at me. His eyes were clear, not clouded with confusion like they usually were. He looked present, awake, like my actual father was looking out from behind those eyes. "Dad?" I set my phone down. "You okay?" "I need to tell you something," he said. His voice was steady, lucid. "Before I forget forever." My heart started pounding. Lucid moments were rare now. When they happened, they never lasted long. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe less. And then he'd slip back into the fog. "What is it, Dad? What do you need to tell me?" He took a deep breath. His hands were trembling in his lap. "Your mother didn't die in a car accident when you were 5. I froze. Everything around me seemed to stop. The hum of the air conditioner, the distant sound of someone's television at the end of the hallway, my own breathing. What are you saying?" "She left us," he said. His voice cracked. "She ran off with another man. She left a note. I burned it." I couldn't move. I couldn't think. All my life, for 45 years, I had been told the same story. My mother, Rebecca, died in a car accident in October 1989. She was driving home from the grocery store when someone ran a red light and she was killed. I was 5 years old. I don't remember the funeral because my father said I was too young to attend. I don't remember much about her, just fragments. Her perfume, the sound of her laughter, the way she sang while making breakfast. That was the story. The story had always been that. "Dad, why did you—" "I didn't want you to feel abandoned, so I told you she died," he continued. His words came faster now. as if he knew the window of clarity was closing. I thought it would be easier for you to believe she left than to believe she chose to leave. I'm sorry. God, Daniel, I'm so sorry. I should have told you. But then years passed, and it became a lie I couldn't take back. My throat felt tight. She's not dead. She's alive. She lives in Oregon. Portland, I think. Or maybe Eugene. I don't. He pressed his hand to his forehead, frustrated. I can't remember which one. How do you know she's alive? Because she tried to contact you. He looked at me, and there were tears in his eyes. Over the years, letters, birthday cards. She sent them to the house. I intercepted them. I destroyed them. Every single one. I stood up. I didn't mean to. My body just moved on its own. I walked to the window and stared out at the parking lot below, trying to process what I was hearing. How many letters? My voice didn't sound like mine. I don't know. Dozens, maybe. They came every year on your birthday, sometimes Christmas. After you got married, she sent a card to congratulate you. I don't know how she knew. I burned that one too. My hands were trembling. Why would you do that? Because I was angry, he said simply. Because she left us. Because she chose someone else over her own son. Because I didn't want her waltzing back into your life whenever she felt guilty. He paused. And because I was scared. Scared of what? That you'd love her more than you loved me. That you'd leave me too. I turned back to look at him. He was crying now. Not dramatically, just silent tears running down his weathered face. And I realized, looking at him in that moment, that I was looking at a man who'd made a terrible choice 45 years ago and had been living with it ever since. Where is she now? I asked. Oregon. I already said that. His brow furrowed. Didn't I already say that? What's her last name? He trailed off. His eyes were starting to cloud again. It's not Bennett anymore. She remarried. It's something with a C. Cooper? No, that's not right. Or maybe it is. I don't... Dad, focus. What's her married name? But I could see it happening in real time. The clarity draining away like water through a sieve. He looked around the room, confused, like he'd just woken up from a dream and didn't know where he was. Who are you? He asked. And just like that, he was gone again. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 40 minutes after that, shaking. My phone rang 3 times. Sarah calling to ask when I'd be home for dinner, my business partner about a payroll issue, my dentist's office confirming an appointment. I didn't answer any of them. I just sat there, staring at the steering wheel, trying to make sense of what my father had told me. My mother was alive. The woman I'd mourned for 45 years, the woman whose grave I'd visited every year on the anniversary of her death, whose photo I kept on my desk at work, whose memory had shaped my entire understanding of loss and grief, was alive. And she'd tried to reach me, for years, and my father had made sure I never knew. I felt like the ground had opened up beneath me. Like everything I thought I knew about my life, about my childhood, about who I was, all of it was built on a lie. When I finally drove home, I didn't tell Sarah what happened. I couldn't. I walked in, kissed her hello, ate dinner in silence while she talked about her day teaching 4th grade. She asked if I was okay. I said I was tired. She believed me because after 22 years of marriage, she knew not to push when I needed space. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m., I got up and went into my home office. I opened my laptop and started searching. Rebecca Bennett, Oregon. Over 200 results. None of them were my mother. Rebecca Cooper, Oregon. Closer, but still too many. Rebecca Mitchell Cooper, Oregon. And there she was. Third result, a Facebook profile. The photo was small, but I recognized her immediately. She looked older. Of course she did. She was 73 now. But she had the same eyes, the same smile I remembered from the handful of photos my father had kept. My hand was shaking as I clicked on her profile. Rebecca Mitchell Cooper, lives in Eugene, Oregon, married to James Cooper. 2 children listed, Jennifer Cooper, 37, and Michael Cooper, 35. She'd had more children. I had half-siblings I'd never known existed. Her profile was private, so I couldn't see much beyond her basic information and a few public photos. In one, she was standing with a man, James, presumably, at what looked like a hiking trail. Both of them wearing fleece jackets, smiling at the camera. In another, she was holding a baby, chubby-cheeked and grinning. A grandchild, I realized. She looked happy. I don't know how long I sat there staring at her photo. Long enough that Sarah came looking for me at 3:30 a.m., worried because I wasn't in bed. "Daniel, what's wrong?" I couldn't keep it in anymore. I told her everything. The conversation with my father, the lucid confession, the letters, the lies, all of it. And when I was done, I showed her the Facebook profile. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Do you want to find her?" "I don't know," I said again. And I meant it. Part of me wanted to get on a plane to Oregon immediately, to knock on her door and demand answers. But another part of me, a bigger part, was terrified. What would I even say? "Hi, I'm the son you abandoned 45 years ago. Remember me?" "You don't have to decide tonight," Sarah said gently. "Sleep on it. Or try to anyway." But I didn't sleep. I spent the rest of the night searching. I found an address, a phone number, LinkedIn profiles for both Jennifer and Michael Cooper. Jennifer was a nurse at Sacred Heart Medical Center in Eugene. Michael was a software engineer in Seattle. They had no idea I existed. By the time the sun came up, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to reach out, not yet. Maybe not ever. My mother had made her choice 45 years ago. She'd chosen to leave. Yes, she'd sent letters. But she hadn't fought to see me. She hadn't hired a lawyer, hadn't shown, up at my school, hadn't made my father let her back into my life. She'd sent cards and then accepted his silence. That felt like a second abandonment. So I closed the laptop, took a shower, put on a fresh suit, and went to work. And I told myself I was going to forget the whole thing. That lasted exactly 4 days. On Friday afternoon, I got a Facebook message request from someone named Jennifer Cooper. My heart stopped when I saw the name. I was in my office, reviewing quarterly taxes for a manufacturing client. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it absently, then did a double take when I saw the notification. I opened it. "Hi. I know this is going to sound completely insane, but are you Daniel Bennett? Did your father's name used to be Thomas Bennett? Did he live in Columbus, Ohio in the 1980s? I stared at the message for a full minute before I replied. "Yes. Who is this?" The response came immediately. "I'm your half-sister. Please don't freak out. Can we talk? It's important." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. "How did you find me?" "It's complicated. Can I call you, please?" I gave her my number. 30 seconds later, my phone rang. "Daniel?" Her voice was nervous, rushed. "I'm so sorry to ambush you like this. I know this is insane, but I need to tell you something. and I don't know how else to say it except to just say it. Okay, I managed. Our mom, your mom, Rebecca, she has cancer. Stage 4, pancreatic. They gave her 4 to 6 months, maybe less. She's been asking for you. She's been asking for years, but now she's running out of time. The room tilted. I sat down heavily in my desk chair. How long have you known about me? I asked. 3 weeks, Jennifer said. Mom told us when she got the diagnosis. Michael and I were completely blindsided. We had no idea she'd been married before, that she had a son. She sat us down and told us everything. About leaving when you were 5, about your father telling you she'd died, about trying to stay in contact for years but eventually giving up because she thought it was better for you. Better for me, I repeated flatly. Her words, not mine. Jennifer paused. I don't know the whole story, but I do know that she's been carrying this guilt for 45 years. And now she's dying, and she needs to see you, even if it's just once. Why now? Why didn't she reach out before? She was scared. Scared you hated her. Scared you wouldn't want to know her. Scared it would mess up your life. Jennifer's voice softened. But cancer has a way of making you face things. She needs closure, Daniel. And maybe you do too. I closed my eyes. I don't know what you want me to say. I'm not asking you to forgive her. I'm not even asking you to like her. But she's your mother. And she doesn't have much time. If you want answers, if you want closure, this is your chance. Because in a few months, that chance will be gone forever. Where is she? She's at home, Eugene. We're taking care of her, me and Michael and Dad. James, I mean. He's been with her since 1991. I pressed my palm against my forehead. I need time to think. Of course. But Daniel, don't take too long. Please. 4 to 6 months is optimistic. I'll call you back. I told Sarah that night. We sat on our back porch, and I told her about the call, about Jennifer, about the cancer. I think you need to go, Sarah said. Why? Because you'll regret it if you don't. Because 30 years from now, you'll wonder what she would have said. Because she's your mother, and no matter what happened, that means something. She left me. I know, and that's unforgivable. But she's dying, Daniel. And you're not the kind of man who can live with not saying goodbye. She was right. I hated that she was right. But she was. The next morning, I called Jennifer back and told her I'd come. Thank you, she said, crying. Thank you so much. I booked a flight for the following Tuesday. Jennifer picked me up from Eugene Airport. I recognized her immediately. Tall, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing scrubs. When she saw me, she waved, and then she hugged me. I'm so glad you came, she said. We didn't talk much on the walk to her car, but once we were on the highway, she started filling the silence. So, Mom doesn't know you're coming today. I thought it would be better as a surprise. That's probably smart. She's not doing great. Physically, I mean. The cancer's in her liver and lungs now. She's on pain medication. Some days are better than others. What about mentally? Mostly lucid, yeah. The medication makes her sleepy, but when she's awake, she's herself. Jennifer glanced at me. She's terrified you'll hate her. I might. That's fair. She turned onto a residential street. Michael and I have been trying to process this too. Finding out we have a brother we never knew about. It's been a lot. We pulled up to a modest ranch-style home painted pale yellow. There were flowers in the front garden. A tire swing hung from an oak tree. This is it, Jennifer said. You ready? No. Good. Me neither. Let's go. The house smelled like vanilla candles and something medicinal. Jennifer led me down a hallway lined with family photos. Pictures of her and Michael growing up, vacation snapshots, school portraits. I tried not to look too closely. "She's in the living room," Jennifer said, pausing at a doorway. "I'll give you two some privacy. I'll be in the kitchen if you need me." My heart was pounding as I stepped into the room. She was sitting in a recliner by the window, wrapped in a gray blanket. She'd lost a lot of weight. Her arms were thin, almost skeletal. Her hair was completely white and wispy. An oxygen tube ran under her nose, connected to a portable tank beside the chair. But when she turned her head and saw me, her eyes, those same green eyes from my childhood, filled with tears. "Daniel," she whispered. I stood frozen in the doorway. "Hi, Mom," I said. The word felt strange in my mouth. "You came." She was crying openly now. "I didn't think you would. I almost didn't. I wouldn't have blamed you." She gestured weakly to the couch. "Will you sit, please?" I sat. My hands were clenched in my lap. We looked at each other for a long moment. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I know that's not enough. I know it doesn't fix anything. But I need you to know I'm sorry." "Why did you leave?" She took a shaky breath. "Because I was drowning. I was 23 when I had you. I had severe postpartum depression that nobody diagnosed. Back then, people didn't talk about things like that. And your father, Tom, he was difficult. He drank a lot. And when he drank, he got mean. He never hit me," I said defensively. "No, never. He loved you more than anything, but he wasn't kind to me, Daniel. He'd yell, call me useless, stupid, a terrible mother. And I was so young and so sick and so lost. I felt like I was disappearing. When I met James," she continued, "it was like I could breathe again. He worked at the library. He was gentle, patient. He listened. He made me feel like a person." She paused. "I didn't plan to fall in love with him. I didn't plan to leave. But one night, after Tom had been drinking, I packed a bag and called James, and we left." "And you left me behind?" "Yes." Her voice broke. "And I've regretted it every day since." "If you regretted it, why didn't you come back?" "I tried. 2 months after I left, I called Tom and asked to see you. He said you'd adjusted, that I'd already caused enough damage. He said if I tried to contact you, he'd move and I'd never find you. So I believed him." She looked down. I was 28 years old and terrified. I didn't know my rights. I didn't have money for a lawyer. So I sent letters instead. Birthday cards. I tried to stay connected however I could. But Tom destroyed them all. I never got them. I didn't know you were alive until 10 days ago." She closed her eyes. "Oh, Daniel." "I visited your grave every year," I said, my voice shaking. "Every October 12th. I'd bring flowers, I'd tell you about my life. And you were alive the whole time. I'm so sorry. Do you have any idea what that's like? To grieve someone who isn't dead?" "In 1998, I hired a private investigator," she said quietly, "to find you, to make sure you were okay. He sent me photos. You were 19, at Ohio State. You looked happy, laughing with friends." She paused. "He asked if I wanted him to approach you, and I said no, because you looked happy. And I thought, what right do I have to destroy that? So I let you go, because I thought that was what a mother was supposed to do. I didn't know what to say. Can I ask you something?" she said. "Are you happy? Did you have a good life?" I thought about Sarah, about my business, about the life we'd built. "Yeah, I did. I am." She smiled, sad, but genuine. "Good. That's all I ever wanted. Then you should have stayed. I know. I stayed in Eugene for 3 days. I met James that evening, a tall man with kind eyes and carpenter's hands. He shook my hand and said, "It's good to meet you, Daniel. Rebecca's told me a lot about you over the years. She was proud of you." I met Michael the next day. He was quieter, more reserved. We sat awkwardly while Mom slept, and he asked careful questions about my life. What kind of accounting I did, how long I'd been married. "Do you have kids?" he asked. "No. We tried, but it didn't happen. We're okay with it, though." "That's good. He grimaced. "Sorry, I'm not good at this." "Neither am I." I sat with my mother for hours. Sometimes we talked about her life with James, about Jennifer and Michael growing up. Sometimes we just sat in silence. On the second day, she told me about working at the library, about raising her children in this house, about quiet dinners and family game nights. Ordinary moments I'd never been part of. "I kept hoping you'd find me someday," she said. "That maybe when you were older, you'd look for me, and I'd answer the door and finally be able to explain. But I never came." "No, because you thought I was dead." On the third day, she was too weak to get out of bed. Jennifer moved her into a hospital bed in the guest room. The hospice nurse came and adjusted her medication, spoke in gentle tones about comfort care. I sat beside the bed and held her hand. "Thank you for coming," she whispered, "for giving me this. I wish we'd had more time." "Me too. I'm still angry. I don't know if I'll ever not be angry." "That's okay. You're allowed to be angry. But I don't want you to die alone, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering." I leaned closer. "So I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I need to. Because I need to let go of this anger." She started crying. So did I. "I love you," she said. "I've always loved you. Even when I wasn't there, I've always loved you." "I know. Will you tell Jennifer and Michael about me? About what I was like when I was young?" "Yeah, I will." I stayed with her for another hour until she fell into a morphine-heavy sleep. Jennifer came in and put her hand on my shoulder. "You should get some rest. She'll probably sleep through the night." Reluctantly, I left. My mother died 2 days later. I'd already flown back to Ohio, but Jennifer called me at 6 a.m. She'd slipped away peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by family. James was with her. So was Michael. She was at peace, Jennifer said, at the end. She said seeing you again gave her that. I flew back to Oregon for the funeral. It was a small service, maybe 40 people. Friends from the library, neighbors, James's family. They talked about Rebecca Cooper, loving wife, devoted mother, retired librarian, volunteer at the food bank. They talked about a woman I didn't know. But they also talked about a woman who'd carried a secret grief for 45 years. About how she'd kept a photo of a little boy on her desk at the library. And when people asked who it was, she'd say, "Someone I lost a long time ago." After the service, Jennifer found me in the parking lot. "Thank you for coming." "Of course." She talked about you after you left. She said seeing you was the best gift she could have asked for. "I'm glad." Jennifer hesitated. "You're my brother. I know we don't really know each other, but I'd like to change that, if you're open to it." I looked at her, this woman who shared half my DNA. "Yeah, I'd like that too." We exchanged numbers, promised to stay in touch. 2 weeks later, I went to see my father. He was having a bad day. He didn't recognize me. He called me sir and asked if I was there to fix the television. "No, Dad. It's me, Daniel." He looked at me blankly. "I met her. I met Mom. She died 2 weeks ago. I was with her before it happened." He didn't respond. She told me everything. About the letters, about why she left. And I'm angry at you. So angry. My voice cracked. You lied to me for 45 years. You stole my mother from me. And I'll never get that time back. He stared at me, confused. But I also know why you did it. You were scared. You were hurt. You thought you were protecting me. I wiped my eyes. I forgave her. And I forgive you too. Not because what you did was right, but because you're my father, and you did the best you could. He didn't say anything. I don't think he knew I was talking to him. But I said it anyway. When I stood to leave, he smiled, vague, pleasant, and said, "Have a nice day, sir." "You too, Dad." My father died 6 months later. Pneumonia. It was quick. I was with him at the end. He didn't know who I was. But I held his hand, and I told him I loved him, and I said goodbye. At his funeral, I told the truth. I stood in front of 50 people and told them about the lie, about my mother, about the letters. I told them he wasn't perfect, that he'd made choices that hurt me, but that he'd also loved me the best way he knew how. Some people were shocked. Some were angry. But most people understood, because people are complicated. And sometimes the people we love do terrible things out of fear and grief. I visit both their graves now. My mother's in Eugene, my father's in Columbus. Maybe once a year. When I stand there, I think about secrets, about the lies we tell to protect the people we love, about how sometimes protection becomes its own kind of prison. My father lied to protect me. My mother left to save herself. I lost both truths for 45 years. But in the end, I found them again. And I found peace. Not forgiveness, exactly. Not acceptance. But peace. Jennifer calls me every few weeks. We talk about ordinary things. Sometimes she tells me stories about our mother, filling in the gaps. Last month, she sent me a box. Inside were letters. Copies my mother had kept. Birthday letters. Congratulations on your graduation. Congratulations on your wedding. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I haven't been able to read them yet. Maybe someday. Sarah says I'm different now. Quieter. More reflective. She's probably right. I think about my mother sometimes. About the choices she made and the life she lived and the guilt she carried. And I think about forgiveness. About how it's not a single moment, but a process. A choice you make every day. I'm not there yet. Not fully, but I'm trying. And maybe that's enough.